Welcome back to the deep dive. I want you to close your eyes for just a second.
Well, unless you're driving, of course.
Right, yeah. Please keep your eyes on the road if you're behind the wheel. But if you can, just try to imagine the specific texture of a Friday night.
A very particular Friday night.
Exactly. It's late. The date is September 6th, 1968. The summer of love is kind of winding down. The world outside is, well, it's chaotic. Vietnam is on the evening news.
It was a heavy time.
It really was. But we are zooming in on a very quiet, dimly lit living room in Elmira, New York.
Just a classic upstate New York setting.
Yeah, and there's likely the smell of coffee in the air, maybe some cigarette smoke. I mean, it was the 60s, after all.
Yeah.
And there is this palpable sense of nervous electricity in the room.
You can almost feel it just reading about it.
For sure. So imagine you're sitting there. Across from you is Jane Roberts, and next to her is her husband, Rob, and he's got his pen hovering right over a notebook, just waiting.
It's quite the moody setup. And tonight, the room isn't just occupied by the regulars. There's guests.
Yes. A young man named Tam Mossman.
And he is vibrating with nerves.
Literally shaking. And Tam isn't just some neighbor who popped in to borrow a cup of sugar, right?
No, he is an editor from a major publishing house, Prentice-Hall.
A big deal. So he's there on business, technically. But tonight, that business is about to get incredibly personal.
Because he's about to sit across from Jane as she goes into a trance state.
Right. And speaks as the entity known as Seth.
Which is just, it's wild to think about being in that room. And what we're diving into today is a really unique slice of the Seth Material.
We are. Specifically, we're looking at session 434 from the early sessions, book 9.
And I have to say, for anyone who follows this material, this session is an absolute standout.
Why is that? Because, usually when we talk about Seth, we're talking about these massive, universe-altering concepts.
Right, the heavy stuff.
Yeah, things like you create your own reality, or the nature of God, the multidimensional soul, the real college-level metaphysics.
Precisely. It can be incredibly dense.
Mm-hmm.
But today is completely different.
It's intimate.
Very. This session is essentially a private, highly specific psychological reading for this visitor, Tam. It's gritty, it's surprisingly funny, and it's just so incredibly human.
It's like watching a master surgeon operate. But instead of a scalpel, Seth is using these vivid psychological metaphors.
And the reason we are dissecting this today isn't just so we can be voyeurs into Tam Mossman's life from 50 years ago.
No, not at all. It's because the diagnosis Seth gives him about how he handles his emotions, his intellect, his career, it's startlingly applicable to us.
To anyone listening right now who feels like they might be wearing a mask in their daily life?
It really is a masterclass in understanding the dynamic between what Seth calls the inner self and the outer self, and we are going to unpack every single layer of it.
I can't wait, but before we get going...
Yes, before we light the metaphorical candles and summon the insights, we do have to handle a little bit of housekeeping.
We do. We need to be crystal clear right up front that this deep dive will be distributed free of charge on all major platforms for educational purposes.
Exactly. We are here to explore the text, to learn, and to see what kind of nuggets of wisdom we can extract for you.
We're just impartial observers unpacking the data today.
And for those of you who want to go straight to the source, which we always recommend, this material comes from the early sessions, book 9.
Published by the New Awareness Network.
Right. You can find this book and a massive library of others at sexcenter.com/the-early-sessions.
That's sethcenter.com/the-early sessions. Highly recommend checking them out.
We'll remind you about that again later, but seriously, go to the source. Okay, let's set the stage properly here. It's September 1968. Tam Mossman is sitting in this living room. Who exactly is this guy, and why is he sweating bullets?
Well, like we said, Tam is an editor. He's actually visiting Jane and Rob to discuss a book Jane is writing about the Seth Material.
So, professionally speaking, the stakes are quite high.
Very high. He's staying with them for the weekend. And you just have to imagine the dynamic here. He's dealing with an author, sure, but he's also dealing with the actual source of the author's material.
Which is wild. He is essentially there to interview a ghost.
Basically, yeah.
Talk about a high-pressure performance review. So, Jane, about Chapter 4, can I speak to the guy who actually wrote it? I have some notes on the pacing.
Something exactly like that. And the notes from the session tell us that Tam was, quote, a little nervous as time for the session approached.
Only a little.
I think that's putting it mildly. And honestly, Jane was nervous too. You really have to remember the context of 1968. This was not mainstream at all.
No, this was fringe.
Right. So whenever she had to sort of perform or go into trance For a skeptical or professional outsider, the tension in the room just skyrocketed
She wasn't just speaking, she was having to prove that the phenomenon even existed.
every single time.
And what I love about this particular session is that it doesn't just start when Jane closes her eyes on that Friday night. It actually started the night before, didn't it?
It did. There's a whole prelude.
Which is crucial.
Yes, it's incredibly crucial for establishing the evidence aspect of this material. So, at midnight the previous night, September 5th, Jane, in her normal, fully waking state, started getting what she called impressions.
Let's pause on that for a second. Can you explain impressions for the listener who might not be deep into the psychic lingo?
Sure.
Is she hearing voices? Is she seeing a movie play out in her head?
Not quite like that. In this context, an impression is more like a sudden download of information. It's just a flash of knowing.
Got it.
She isn't in a trance state. She just suddenly knows something that she logically shouldn't know. So she wrote down that she saw an older white-haired woman.
Okay.
She got a very specific phrase about a stupid arrangement involving the year 1942.
Stupid arrangement.
Yeah, and she also saw a green rail.
See, a green rail. That is the detail that gets me.
It's so oddly specific.
Right. If you were faking it or just trying to cold read somebody, you would say something generic. I see a dark cloud over your past, or I see a strong father figure.
Exactly, the Barnum effect.
But a green rail, that is almost boringly specific.
That's exactly what researchers call veridical data. It is specific enough that it can actually be checked and verified.
Then did Tam verify it?
He did. He confirmed these things. He validated the psychological content of those impressions.
Wow.
The stupid arrangement in 1942 actually meant something highly personal to him. The white-haired woman meant something.
So by the time we get to Friday night, the pump has completely been primed. Tam knows that Jane or Seth has direct access to his private history.
He knows it's real.
So 8:55 p.m. hits. The room goes completely quiet. Jane's breathing changes.
Her voice drops.
Yeah, into that much deeper, more masculine register. Seth is officially in the building, so to speak.
And if I'm Tam in that moment, I'm gripping the armrests of my chair.
Oh, for sure. You're probably expecting this booming voice from the heavens to say, "Behold, mortal."
Ha, exactly. But that isn't Seth's style at all, is it?
Not even a little bit. And this is one of the main things that really disarms people about the Seth personality.
He's funny.
He's so funny. He's charming. He is incredibly socially intelligent.
He walks into this room that is just thick with tension. And the very first thing he does is crack a joke about the tension itself.
He does. He says, and I'm quoting here, "The suspense is too much for me. I will be an anticlimax, and we cannot have that."
I will be an anticlimax. It's just such a wonderfully human thing to say.
It instantly shatters the tension in the room. He is openly acknowledging that Tam is sitting there shaking in his boots, waiting for some grand revelation.
And Seth is basically saying, hey, relax. I'm just a friendly chap. I'm not going to bite you.
Just a friendly chap who happens to be about to read your soul like a billboard on the highway.
Precisely. But the humor there is highly tactical.
How so?
Well, Seth actually explains that he needs Tam to relax because fear creates a psychological blockage. If Tam is completely walled off, Seth literally can't get the information through.
So being a friendly chap is actually a mechanism to improve the data connection.
Exactly. It lowers the shields.
That makes a lot of sense. So the ice is broken. Tam probably lets out a nervous laugh. And then Seth pivots smoothly from the comedian to the analyst.
And this brings us to the first major pillar of this session, which we're calling the leash metaphor.
Yes. This is where we get deep into the actual structure of Tam's personality. And honestly, this is where you, as the listener, should really tune in.
Because this profile fits a lot of modern people.
A disturbing amount of people, myself included sometimes. So Seth starts by describing Tam's outer behavior, and it's a very vivid description.
It is. He talks about Tam having a delightful outer self that pirouettes and prances.
Pirouettes and prances is such a lovely image, isn't it? The dancer, the performer.
Seth is saying that on the surface, Tam is the absolute life of the party. He's agreeable, he's charming, he's constantly in motion, constantly smiling.
He says he is obliging.
Yes, he's the guy you desperately want at your dinner party because he's going to keep the conversation flowing effortlessly.
But, and there is always a but, when you're in therapy, even spectral therapy, Seth says this pirouetting is actually a defense mechanism.
It's a mask.
Right. Seth identifies this deep-seated fear inside Tam, a fear of being swept away.
Swept away.
Swept away by what?
By his own energy bleeding out. Seth explains that Tam feels like if he communicates too much of his true self, if he really lets go, He's going to lose his integrity.
He loses himself.
Exactly. It is this pervasive fear that, quote, my cup runneth over and there will be none of me left.
Wow, that is profound. I think so many people feel that way.
Especially introverts.
Oh, totally. Introverts who have had to learn how to function as extroverts to survive in the corporate world.
You're out there performing, giving all your energy to everyone else, making them laugh, being obliging.
And deep down, you are terrified that you're just going to run dry.
That you're giving away literal pieces of yourself that you can't ever get back.
Seth notes that Tam was expending huge amounts of energy outward to other people, to the social world, but he wasn't letting enough energy come back in from his own inner layers.
He had walled off the flow from the inside, so of course he felt depleted.
Seth actually says too much was going and not enough was coming in. It's like an energy crisis of the soul.
And this leads right into the central metaphor of this section. Seth tells Tam that he really doesn't need to guard his inner self so heavily. Right. He says his identity will not escape from him like a dog who leaves the leash.
There it is, the dog on the leash.
Tam is holding the leash of his own soul so incredibly tight because he truly believes that if he lets go even a little bit, the dog, meaning his identity, is just going to bolt and never come back.
He treats his own inner self like a wild, untamed animal that has to be strictly controlled at all times.
But Seth is saying, no, that dog is you, it's loyal, it knows where home is, it's not going to run away.
And then Seth creates this really beautiful moment of camaraderie with Tam here. Right after using the dog metaphor, Seth refers to himself.
He says, now you see that I am a friendly chap. Indeed, an old dog with a long leash.
I love that so much, an old dog with a long leash.
He's basically saying, look at me. Look at what I'm doing right now. I am projecting my consciousness across time and space. I'm speaking through another person's body, and I haven't lost my identity.
Right. My leash is miles long. It stretches across dimensions, but I'm still me.
It's a call for trust.
Trusting that your core self is actually robust enough to handle the world. You don't need to strangle it to keep it safe.
And practically speaking, the direct advice he gives Tam is to balance the exuberance of that outer self with the quiet, necessary needs of the inner self.
Basically, stop performing for a minute and let the tank refill.
Allow the inner energy to rise up and meet the outer world.
Okay, so we've got the emotional profile down, the fear of bleeding out, the tight leash, but then Seth pivots to the brain, to the intellect.
And this is where things get really, really interesting for anyone listening who considers themselves to be smart.
This is segment 3. We call it the shiny toy.
Yes. Seth basically calls Tam out on the carpet for how he uses his intelligence.
He pulls no punches.
He really doesn't. He says Tam treats his intellect like a fine and gaudy plaything or a shiny banner to wave from the window.
It is a scathing critique, but it's delivered lovingly.
Right, it's not mean-spirited.
No, he's just saying, you are smart, and you know you are smart. You wind up your intellect like a little mechanical toy and you watch it go, but you are only letting it run in completely safe directions.
It's a performative intellect. It is being smart for the applause or just for the decoration of it.
And for the control. Seth explicitly says, you are careful of the directions in which you let it run.
He's implying that Tam intentionally avoids the deep, scary, messy philosophical questions.
He prefers the sparkling, witty, safe, surface level of intelligence.
And then Seth drops this analogy that I think we really need to unpack, because it's striking.
Oh, the beautiful wife analogy.
Yes. He compares Tam to a man with a beautiful wife. He says he shows her off, but he does not really let her work or be herself.
That is a very heavy image, especially for 1968.
It's all about objectification versus utility.
Exactly. If you treat your own mind like a trophy, something that is just meant to be admired by others at a dinner party, you aren't actually using it.
You aren't letting it get its hands dirty.
You aren't letting it penetrate reality, which is the exact phrasing Seth uses.
Right. Full penetrating freedom.
Seth is urging him to stop playing with the toy and start using the tool.
The intellect is meant to dig. It's meant to dismantle things and build new things. It's not just supposed to sit there and sparkle.
That hits home for me. I mean, how often do we all learn a fun fact just so we can share it at a cocktail party, rather than actually sitting with a complex idea that might challenge our worldview?
We do it all the time.
Yeah.
It's the fundamental difference between gathering trivia and seeking wisdom.
And Seth wants Tam to move toward wisdom.
He wants Tam to take that beautiful wife, his mind, and let her work in the garden, let her get mud on her hands, and actually grow something real.
Stop parading it around and let it do what it was built to do.
Precisely.
So we've analyzed his heart, we've analyzed his brain, and now Seth decides it's time to take a little trip through time.
Here we go.
We are going back to the past lives, and I love this part because it isn't just your standard, oh, you were Cleopatra or you were a Roman general.
No, it's highly specific, very gritty, and frankly, it's kind of tragic.
This brings us to segment 4, the bootleg monk.
The Bootleg Monk. It really sounds like a craft beer, doesn't it? Or maybe an indie hipster band?
I would totally drink a bootleg monk IPA.
Me too.
Uh-huh.
But the actual story is fascinating. Seth transports the room back to France, specifically near Bordeaux.
Okay, setting the scene.
He describes a monastic order that is connected to St. John. He goes into such detail that he even describes a crest with a 4-pronged fork and a serpent on it.
And he names a character, right?
Yes, Aero-France Marie, or at least something phonetic that sounded like that to Jane.
Aero-France Marie. And here is where the bootleg part comes into play. This monk, Aero-France, wasn't just sitting in a cell copying scripture all day.
No, he and a few others were what Seth wonderfully calls bootleg seed finders.
I just love that phrase so much. Bootleg seed finders. What exactly were they doing out there?
They were conducting secret scientific experiments right behind the monastery. They were actively investigating nature, local folklore, and the heredity in plants.
Which doesn't sound very scandalous to us now.
No, but you have to remember the historical context. This is likely the Middle Ages or slightly later. The official church doctrine at the time was that God created everything perfectly and unchanging.
So evolution or genetics wasn't exactly on the approved reading list.
To investigate how seeds work, or how heredity changes the traits of a plant over time, that was literal heresy. That was forbidden knowledge.
So Aero-France was essentially a biohacker in a monk's robe.
He really was. They had this forbidden garden going on behind the monastery walls.
And Seth gives us these incredible, grounding physical details about him. He mentions the monk had a pronounced limp in his left foot.
A birth injury.
Yeah. Seth says a 12-year-old niece acted as the midwife and just didn't handle the baby gently enough.
It's those little throwaway details that make the narrative feel so incredibly textured. It isn't just a generic past life reading. It is a full biography.
But unfortunately, the story doesn't have a happy ending.
No, it does not.
Walk us through the death scene, because Seth describes it almost like a movie playing out.
It is very cinematic.
Oh.
And just tragic. So it's evening. There are 3 villagers who are either trespassing or hunting on the monastery grounds.
Right.
Our monk, Aero-France, sees them out there, and he yells at them to get out.
It's the classic get off my lawn moment, but at a monastery.
Exactly. But in his sudden anger or haste, and perhaps exacerbated by that limp in his left foot, he trips on a rock.
Oh no.
He falls, hits his head hard, and gets knocked completely unconscious. The villagers panic when they see him go down, and they just run away.
So he's just lying there in the field alone and unconscious.
Right. And when he finally wakes up, it's night. It's dark. He's deeply disoriented, probably severely concussed.
Wandering around in the dark.
He wanders through the fields and eventually finds himself standing right by a body of water, a stream or a river. And in his profound confusion and physical pain, he does what a monk is literally trained to do.
He kneels to pray.
Yes.
And this is the part that genuinely gave me chills when I read the transcript.
He loses his balance while he's kneeling. He grabs desperately for an overhanging branch to try and save himself.
But the branch breaks.
The branch snaps. He falls into the water, and because he's injured and disoriented, he drowns.
Just awful. And Seth's commentary on this moment is so poignant. He says, quote, "It is surely a sad sight to think of this poor monk trying to find his monastery and prayer only betraying him indeed as he falls into the stream."
Prayer only betraying him. That is a devastating line.
It really speaks to the bitter irony of that specific life.
He's been his entire life cloistered in this religious order, yet his true passion, his curiosity, was hidden away in the back garden. And in the very end, the ritual of prayer, the official act of his order, is the direct context of his death.
But Seth does offer Tam a silver lining here, doesn't he?
He does. He mentions that the experiments, the bootleg seeds, were eventually recovered by others.
They weren't lost to history.
Right. They actually contributed to scientific achievements much later on down the line, so the work itself wasn't in vain, even if the life ended so tragically.
And you can see how this connects directly back to that overarching theme of hidden value.
Absolutely.
Tam is hiding his inner self behind this delightful, pirouetting outer mask. The monk hid his brilliant experiments behind the monastery walls.
Seth seems to be telling Tam very directly, don't let your best work be hidden in the backyard this time around. Bring it out into the light.
That's the core connection. Bring the inner exuberance out. Let that powerful intellect do the deep, meaningful work right now out in the open.
Don't die holding onto a branch that's going to break.
Wow. All right, so from the dark medieval French countryside, we are snapping right back to 1968 corporate America.
Talk about whiplash.
Seth pivots again, and suddenly he is a career counselor.
This is segment 5. And it is frankly hilarious because it's just so intensely practical.
You expect a multidimensional spirit guide to say something ethereal like, follow your bliss, or meditate on the cosmos more.
And instead, Seth essentially says, you should really look into sales.
Have you considered a career in public relations, Tam? It is so wonderfully mundane.
It sounds mundane, but if you think about it, it is perfectly tailored to Tam's specific energy profile.
Because of the pirouetting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Remember that outer self. Seth says Tam would be incredibly successful at acting, sales, or public relations because he already has that natural, projective, agreeable charisma.
He already knows how to work a room, but Seth also gives a pretty stern warning to Tam about his current job in publishing.
He does. He says that if Tam decides to stay in the publishing industry, he can absolutely rise high in the ranks, but he must, quote, pursue his own writing vigilantly.
He has to aggressively protect his creative time.
Otherwise, the corporate climb is just going to consume him entirely.
And then comes my absolute favorite part of the career counseling, the wildest prediction. Seth suggests a very specific niche career path for Tam.
A psychic agent.
A psychic agent, an agent dealing exclusively with writers of psychic phenomena.
Which is incredibly meta.
It's so meta. Tam is literally sitting there, acting as an editor, listening to a psychic phenomenon give him career advice about representing psychic phenomena.
You can't write that kind of irony. And Seth argues that Tam is absolutely perfect for the role.
Why?
Well, he clearly understands the subject matter. He's open-minded enough to be sitting in Jane's living room. But he also has the hard sales ability to convince skeptical publishers to actually buy the material.
And there's another reason, right?
Yes, and this is the best part. Seth says Tam's humor would, quote, protect him from them.
Protect him from them, meaning the psychics.
I think so, yeah. Seth is basically saying, look, Tam, people in this particular field can be a little intense.
A little out there, a little eccentric.
Exactly. But you, Tam, have a great sense of humor. You can deal with all the craziness and the massive egos without getting sucked into the delusion.
That is incredibly rich, coming from a disembodied personality speaking through a housewife in upstate New York.
You're going to need a sense of humor to deal with people exactly like me.
It just shows an amazing level of self-awareness from Seth. He knows exactly how the quote-unquote occult world is perceived by the mainstream.
And he's giving Tam a highly practical toolkit for navigating it. He's saying, use your humor as a shield, as armor, not just as a sparkly decoration to entertain people.
Okay, let's move on to segment 6, the love life.
Of course.
Because honestly, no psychic reading, no matter how profound, is truly complete without the sitter asking, will I find love?
It's the universal question. And Seth brings up this concept of the three sisters.
Which sounds like a Chekhov play.
It's a karmic thread involving 3 specific souls that Tam has interacted with across multiple
Or a
lifetimes.
very tangled web.
Very. In one past life, these souls played the roles of a niece, a brother, and a mother or wife figure.
Oh.
But in the current life, in 1968, they have incarnated as 3 literal sisters. And Tam happens to be currently dating one of them, the one Seth refers to as the second girl.
And Seth drops a bit of a bombshell about this current girlfriend, doesn't he?
He points out that she has been a male 4 different times in her past lives.
Which in itself isn't unusual in the Seth material.
Right, souls switch genders all the time. But Seth specifies that she was usually an administrator who was very used to giving orders.
So if Tam feels like she's a little bossy in the relationship,
It's because she literally has lifetimes of experience running the show. It is deeply ingrained in her energetic personality.
That is such a funny way to explain relationship dynamics. She's not just stubborn, Tam. She's a reincarnated middle manager.
But here is the really crucial lesson on relationships that Seth delivers here. He states very clearly that the relationship is open-ended. It is not necessitated by the past.
This is a huge foundational Seth concept, right?
Yeah.
We are not slaves to our karma.
Correct. Karma, in the Seth paradigm, isn't a jail sentence. It's just momentum. It's a tendency.
You can always choose to change direction.
Exactly. Seth says there are no reasons from the past that would more or less necessitate the relationship. It is entirely up to them whether they stay together or not.
But he does offer a bit of a forecast, assuming things don't work out.
He says that if this current relationship ends, there is another very strong one coming in roughly 3 years.
So around 1971.
Right. A woman with a high-handed manner.
A high-handed manner. Tam really has a type, doesn't he?
He clearly likes someone who takes charge. This future partner was apparently a grandnephew in a past life.
It gets so complicated.
But Seth gives the absolute best advice for anyone who is waiting around for love to arrive.
What does he say?
He says, do not hold your breath while you are waiting.
That is just solid, practical life advice. Live your life. Don't sit by the phone waiting for destiny to ring.
Keep moving forward.
Finally, before the session wraps, there is a brief touch on Tam's father.
Yes, Seth describes the father as someone who has an innate love of travel that simply isn't being indulged in his current life.
He senses a fear in him too, right?
A hidden fear of speed, a fear of going too fast. Seth describes it as an uneven pace beneath a very calm exterior.
Which perfectly mirrors Tam's own struggle, doesn't it?
It really does.
The incredibly calm, delightful exterior that is hiding a turbulent, fearful interior. Like father, like son.
It reinforces that overarching theme of the massive gap between who we show the world and who we actually are inside. It seems to be a generational family trait in this case.
So Seth finally wraps up the session. He acknowledges Jane's physical toll. He says, I have made my friend Rupert, which for the listener is his affectionate name for Jane, sit fairly quietly for some time, so I will now end our session.
And Tam's reaction after Jane comes out of the trance is just so telling.
What did he say?
He immediately confirmed that Seth had him completely pegged psychologically. Yes. He said the data rang true on every level, even the deeply personal parts that he hadn't shared aloud with anyone in the room.
Which is really the ultimate validation of the session. You can fake generalities, you can do cold reading, but you absolutely cannot fake that specific resonance of someone's deeply held secret fears.
Exactly. When someone names the fear you haven't even named yourself, you know it's real.
So, as we wrap up our analysis today, let's unpack this for you, the listener.
Because we aren't Tam Mossman.
No, we aren't editors at Prentice-Hall in 1968. But looking at this incredibly intimate session, what are the big takeaways that we can apply to our own lives right now?
I think the first one, unequivocally, is the leash. I would ask everyone listening, where are you holding yourself back because you are terrified of bleeding out?
Yeah. Are you afraid that if you show your real intensity, your real weirdness, your true self, that you're just going to lose control?
Or that people simply won't accept it, so you have to keep the mask on?
Seth is saying to you, you are so much stronger than you think you are. Let the dog run a little bit. The leash is long. You aren't going to lose yourself.
And the second major takeaway is the shiny toy intellect.
Oh, man. This one hurts.
Are you using your mind to defend yourself, to dazzle people, to keep every conversation light and safe? Or are you actually using it to dig deep into the reality of your life?
That beautiful wife analogy really sticks with me. Don't just put your intelligence on a pedestal to be admired. Put it to work. Let it get messy.
Let it penetrate reality.
And finally, we have the monk, the bootleg seed finder.
It's such a profound reminder that sometimes your most important work, your most authentic work, is the stuff you are doing in secret, the stuff that goes against the grain of your society.
It might not be appreciated in your current time, or by your own specific monastery, whatever that institution represents for you, but it has immense value.
Those seeds will eventually be found.
They will. But, try to share them while you're still here, if you can.
That's the goal.
This deep dive has been based on Session 434 of the Early Sessions, Book 9 of the Seth Material. Date of record, September 6, 1968. It is published by the New Awareness Network.
And if this kind of highly specific, deep dive psychological profiling interests you, there are volumes and volumes of this stuff. It's dense, but it is incredibly rewarding to read.
We strongly encourage you to check out the actual books. You can find them and a whole lot more at the New Awareness Network website. That URL, again, is sethcenter.com/the-early-sessions.
Always go to the source. It is always better than any summary we can provide.
Absolutely. And just one final reminder that this deep dive is distributed free of charge on all major platforms for educational purposes. We just want to get this fascinating information out there to you.
Indeed.
So as you go about your week, think about Tam, think about the bootleg monk, and think about that leash you might be holding.
Ask yourself, are you walking the dog or is the dog walking you?
Or are you just choking the poor thing?
Let's really hope not.
Don't fall in the stream while praying, everyone. Keep your eyes open, let your intellect do the dirty work, and keep that leash loose. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
Goodbye, everyone.